mental health services and access to services are important to everyone, and to break down the stigma that the whole community has.
People need long-term mental health support, housing, of course, job training, education. So resources are essential, and there's just not enough of them.
RAMS just has this wonderful ability to bring people into the equation.
RAMS really helped me get out of a rough time in my life.
RAMS helped me put the pieces back together.
I have been homeless. I have been in the streets. I know that I'm here today by RAMS allowing me a second chance.
Before the civil rights movement, San Francisco was very segregated, and Chinese were not even allowed to buy properties outside of Chinatown. By the late 60s, early 70s, Chinatown has been bursting out of the scene. A lot of immigrant or people who live in Chinatown started to move west, and many of them settled in the Richmond district. So by the early 70s, there are a lot of Asians living in the west side of town. But services were still in Chinatown. The opportunity for RAMS to start in 1974 with two main goals. One is serving community who live in the west side of town so they don't have to go to Chinatown to get services. And two is to train clinicians to be able to provide services for the immigrant community.
My acquaintance with RAMS really began in the late 1970s when I met Herbert Wong, the executive director at that time and one of the founders of RAMS, and his new training program for psychologists, which was really unique, and that was to have ethnic-specific focused programs in the outpatient clinics, the day treatment programs, and in residential care. Nowhere else in the country did you see this.
What happened was Kennedy was very foresighted and actually wanted comprehensive health care.
Evelyn was a force of nature, and she had a style of not involving herself too much in the details of things, but she was very inspiring to other people and had a much more expansive view of what mental health was.
Stanley Hsu was a giant in Asian American mental health and ethnic minority mental health in general.
We're not getting anything, therefore we're going to confront like hell. We're going to push.
Yeah.
Back in the late 60s, we had no models for Asian American kinds of things. My brother Daryl and I started the Asian American Psychological Association because in the early 1970s, we had no colleagues.
I'm Angela Tang. I'm the CEO at RAMS. I've been with RAMS for almost 2 decades. In 1974, the Richmond Asian Caucus successfully opened the first RAMS program, our outpatient clinic. Originally named Richmond Maxi Center, this program offered culturally congruent, multilingual mental health services to the city's Asian American residents who were in most need.
The National American Asian Psychology Training Center was psychodynamically oriented and sort of the cornerstone. Like when folks think of RAMS and training, they're thinking primarily of that program. So I remember starting out, having a meeting with the executive director at the time, Kabu Spasiri, asked me, what is my hope for my future? And it really shaped how I thought about working with and for others.
The way you provide services, it can't be through one continuum of care. It needs to be in multiple continuums because people's needs are in multiple continuums. If there's a need, we can be there for that need, even though it's not in a traditional outpatient clinic. It may be in a school setting, it may be in a community center, it may be training. The idea is that can we provide a continuum versus a focus that is just one area.
Hireability has been around since 1998. It started as a day program and then went into employment services with contracts with State Department of Rehabilitation. When I stepped in as director in 2010, it was a super exciting time. We were starting to see the trickle down of Mental Health Services Act funds.
We all started in 1999. It's a Chinese term means supporting the young. We provide mental health consultation from birth prenatal through 5 years old, but we are helping the adults around the children in understanding the children's need and more supporting the children's social-emotional development.
A high school-based wellness center. The program started roughly around when the Columbine shootings happened, and nationally, schools were thinking about how to keep students safe, and San Francisco had this revolutionary idea that we should give students someone to talk to. Any service based in a school is meant to improve or bolster academics, but the truth of the matter is, with families and with young people, the more that you support them, the more that you're going to see improvements in every area of their lives. I recently heard from one student who I worked with. Now she must be close to 30. She just reached out to let me know how impactful the service was for her and for her family. And so to me, that speaks to the RAMS spirit and how our services are meant to improve access and mental wellness for all.
In 2004, the Mental Health Services Act, or Proposition 63, was passed in the state of California. The funding allocation began to roll down from the state to counties, and in 2006, San Francisco also received its funding. And then Asian and Pacific Islander leaders in San Francisco noticed that all other communities in San Francisco were given some funds from the MHSA funding, but the Asian and Pacific Islander community was missing from that funding allocation.
Another program started at that time was Broderick Street. We operate and provide on-site mental health services at the Broderick Street Adult Residential Facility, which has 33 beds for adults with severe and chronic mental illness.
Something that I think is quintessential about RAMS is how inclusive our organization is, meeting the needs of populations with language skills that are not English, and that inclusivity just runs through everything.
It's very important to have in-language type of stigma reduction and stigma reduction period. One of the things that I appreciate about RAMS is the idea of being able to contextualize, make mental health relevant to the community. So we're not bringing this foreign concept into the communities. We're going into the communities, understanding what mental health looks like, and then we're providing approaches that are contextual and relevant.
In 2007, RAMS started what is now the CAP Counseling and Pre-Vocational Services Program. Here, we provide brief assessment and counseling services to adults without dependents who are participants of the county's Cash Aid Assistance and Employment Services Program.
The Peer Certificate Program is the foundation and pipeline for training for peers. And it's really important that our peer counselors are well trained in all aspects of their roles. And the certificate provides that opportunity of short-term training and long-term training for folks to step into the field, explore the field, to increase their professional development in the field. In 2015, we acquired a large amount of funding, again, through Mental Health Services Act. During that period, it was a lot of innovation, a lot of good change, and the integration of peers into the workforce was a big one. Our biggest program is our employment services program that helps support folks with mental health challenges, accessing training and opportunities and jobs all over the Bay Area. And using our training ground of our Peer Certificate Program in partnership with San Francisco State University, we were able to mobilize peer counselors to provide services at 35 different sites in San Francisco.
In my younger days, I made some bad choices and got into crime and drugs, which carried on into my adulthood, which landed me in prison. I made a decision to turn my life around, and for me to do that, I had to find a purpose for my life. So I'm sort of combining my life experience, my substance use education, and my social work education to have a well-rounded view of how to provide the best services to people that I interact with.
In 2014, RAMS became the sole provider of the CalWORKS counseling and pre-vocational services. At this program, we offer counseling to families who are part of the county's financial assistance and services program.
In 2018, we applied for the Population Focused Prevention Early Intervention Grant in Alameda County, and in 2019, we opened our office in Hayward.
We're able to design and contextualize mental health approaches and services in a way that's relatable to the communities that we serve, especially with the population-focused programs of RAMS.
the opportunity to express themselves in their own language, in the language that not only speaks to them, it really speaks to their heart. And I think it does more than just understanding what someone is saying.
In 2020, they started the Office of Coordinated Care and Street Crisis Response Teams, where San Francisco Fire Department, along with RAMS peer counselors and along with a clinician, would ride together as teams and address calls that came in that were nonviolent behavioral health calls.
I think that RAMS continues to be responsive to community needs. What I've seen is an expansion of culture and population-focused programs. We've been able to think about what prevention and early intervention can look like, what holistic healing can look like. In 2024, we have a new building located in the heart of the Richmond district. We envision this site to be a modern and welcoming space for our outpatient clients. There, we will continue to grow, innovate, and serve our community. We have a unique opportunity because we're able to serve the entire life of someone.
I'm seeing a lot of community members having conversations around mental health, like prevention and treatment. Both of these modalities should be part of how we serve our communities, not one or the other.
Now, I think in the field of mental health, we have come to recognize that these are social determinants of mental health. And RAMS saw this ahead of time.
The landscape has changed over time, and I know it will continue to change. I'm really blessed that I can be part of the history of RAMS.
I have learned so much at RAMS, and it really started with the way in which the organization supported me and treated me. I'm really grateful to their mentorship.
I can confidently say that because of the RAMS program, mental health can actually be described comfortably in different cultures and aspects. And all of it has to do because of the fact that RAMS was willing to have the listening ear as a whole organization.
I'm very grateful for the affiliation that I've had with RAMS. It's a very talented group, very creative group.
It's a very supportive organization. I really do appreciate RAMS taking a chance of hiring me and giving me the opportunity to be able to provide services to others.
I never feel when I go home at the end of the day waiting for the weekend. Every day becomes another beautiful thing. And so I think if we can share some of the things that we have learned to other providers as well, we will be a healthier world.
There was a very apparent need for providers who are well trained in providing culturally responsive services. We're 50 years down the line, and that still remains true.